So we're holding still in Torah Daled in the Likutei Moharan. We're up to Ois Ches. Till now the Rebbe was speaking about how could a person recognize that every single thing that happens to him is for the good. Is if you lift up Malchus. How do you lift up Malchus from being captured? Is through, he said, being misvada, just speaking out, basically speaking out your insides in front of the Talmid Chacham, in front of a tzaddik. When you speak out, he explained that it was the sins and all the problems that we have are etched in our bones in bad premeditations. But when you speak it out clearly, what you did, it comes out from the bones and it frees your bones and it gives you a tremendous level of freedom. But this person that it has to be done in front of has to be a level of ayin, a tremendous level of bittul that he has nothing at all. What the Rebbe was speaking about last week was that, like Moshe Rabbeinu was able to hear his praises and to see his praises, even to write his own praises, and still have absolutely no godless at all, total bittul. So over here he's going to bring down a Gemara in Saita. Interesting Gemara, but the basics of the Gemara is that it's like a mashal of someone that's going in the night and he's afraid of all these different things, and once the morning comes, everything is clear, and he's saved from all of these different things. But now in this keta, it's not just going to be, a lot of times the Rebbe brings down psukim or stories or things like that to bring proof texts. So what he's saying. But like we said before, often there's subtle layers of more understanding that are being brought in with the proof text, with all that are beyond what he said before. That's sometimes subtlety. Over here, it's not subtlety. Here, it's a whole new inyan that he's bringing in of different levels and different layers of how to do this thing that he was discussing before. So let's go through the words of the Gemara first. In Ches, he was going on a very, very dark night. I heard someone say that the Americans who just did the bunker bombers on all of the Iranian nuclear peaceful production plants, they did it also specifically in a dark night, because that was like every nikuda helps. So here's a guy going around in the darkness. It's a dark night. It's not like a bright night. It's a dark night. And he's afraid from all these things. Imagine going around in the darkness in those days. Mamish darkness meant absolute darkness. And he was afraid of thorns and thistles, holes in the ground that he could fall into, wild animals, listim, bandits. He also has no idea where he's going. It's pitch dark. Where is he going to go? So as the Gemara is going to go on weiter, until the Amara Shachar, until it starts to dawn, starts to arise, it starts to get light, and as the light comes on, more light comes in, he's less and less afraid of all these different things. Now we're going to see what Nachman has to say about this. Kizei Yadua. This is understood. Shekol Amidas Rois V'Solasem Nimshachin Me'arba Yesoides Me'arba Moros Kamuva B'Mishtas Chasidim. Some sort of svarim that bring down that there's four basic elements of life, of creation, which in this context are Doimim Tzamea Chai Medaber, which is inanimate objects like rocks and metals and things like that. Then there's organic vegetation, things that grow like trees, which have an aspect of life more than the Doimim. And then there's Chai, which are animals, which definitely have a much higher level of life than vegetation. But then there's Medaber, which is human beings, which are able to communicate. These four levels are representative of four midos rice, bad midos, which usually are bad attributes, things like that. But midos also are levels. Midot are measures. So everything in the midos, almost everything, are all not inherently evil, but they have places where if they're too much, out of whack, out of measure, then it becomes bad. It's a very good thing to eat. It's a nice thing to eat healthy and good food. But then a person that overeats and stuffs his face with garbage all day is obviously doing it in a bad measure. So now he's going to go through these four midos. He says depression draws from the energy, so to speak, of inanimate objects, of rocks. And at the end of the day, a rock is just blah. It's just a rock. It doesn't move, it doesn't go, it doesn't do. And as you can say weiter, it's also like laziness, depression, laziness, heaviness, comes from the inanimate objects of the world. Tavis rois is still the same. Now you have the opposite almost, which are guys that are filled with desires for food, women, money, all the power, everything. All of that stuff comes from Tzemeach, he says, from vegetation, which you see it in vegetation itself, is that vegetation is the core of life. Emes me'eretz titzmach, the earth gives forth to everything good. And yet, go around in certain yards over here, and you see weeds and vines. If you don't take care of the vegetation, if you don't properly cultivate it and keep it in a balance, it just grows and it becomes disgusting. And go to the Amazon rainforest, you have poisonous plants, all these crazy stuff, all because it's not taken care of. It has to be within a proper measure. That is the taivas, which are all these things that could fuel a person to do great things and to make a family and to provide for them and to keep the human race going in a beautiful way. But if they're unmeasured, if they're unchecked, so then they turn into a taiva. And then they have the third one, dvarim b'telim v'sel d'seya nimshach michai. Now from animals come dvarim b'telim, which are just hanging out with the boys, doing nothing, which seems to be not such a bad thing. But in the end of the day, dvarim b'telim also it leads to worse things, and it's a bad midah. Obviously, also sometimes it's good to just chill, to clear the mind. But again, when they're not in the proper measure, they're not good. Now you get to the level of human beings who have the ability to communicate and speak. So here comes in this beautiful thing called gaiva, me, zich, the ego, all of these hubris, haughtiness, that comes into us. Someone who wants to go in the path of holiness, you have to break all of these midas and speak them out in front of the Talmid Chacham. Like what we said, to speak it out. And the Talmid Chacham is going to be able to explain to you, according to your soul, according to your root soul, how to fix everything that you need to deal with. Now he's going to go back and rewind a little bit. Before we were just speaking about the whole time in this Torah, one thing, just speak out your problems to the tzaddik. Now he's going to go and be a little more clear in different aspects for the levels of coming close to the tzaddik. Through these three things, you can fix everything. The first aspect of what we're speaking about is kisharoya es hatzadik, simply seeing the face of a tzaddik. On these sukkahs posters that you have in your sukkah, and they have all the pictures of tzaddikim, so they'll inevitably put this pasuk on the bottom of it. That there's a value just to see the face of tzaddikim. It gets rid of these bad midos. So we said that there were two different types of things that are coming out from those two elements of inanimate and vegetation, and just seeing the face of the tzaddik wipes them all out. A guy that's depressed and a guy that's filled with desire, which is very funny because they seem to be total opposites. How could you possibly heal the guy that's sitting all day and watching Netflix and doesn't want to move to the guy that's running around and not stopping? They're like two opposite worlds. Nope, it's one antidote. Just see the face of the tzaddik, and both of them are done. He's going to explain a little bit more in a beautiful mashal. He's going to say, Ki tzaddik hador nikra aim. The tzaddik is called the mother. That he literally nourishes Klal Yisrael with the light, with the illumination of his Torah. Torah is compared to milk, to milk, to like the milk, the nourishing milk of a mother. So the Torah is compared to that, and the tzaddik is the one who channels the Torah into the world. So he is like the mother that's bringing forth the milk of the Torah. Okay, so the tzaddik is the mother. So what? Who cares? We see this, everyone, this is a clear example. You're coming to pick up your 2 or 3-year-old from Gan. They've been there for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and they're just lying around on the floor, hot, overheated, bored, and out of it. When he sees his mother, he's just a couple of seconds before he was just totally vepped out. When his Arab is go to Likasimai. And Lashosha, he jumps up and runs. Like, where did he get all that energy from? All of a sudden, they see their mother, boom, they're alive, they're awake, they run. That's when you see your source, the mother is the source, they know. Intuitively, a child knows this is where it all comes from, they run. So that's the first layer. The first layer is you could be be'atzvus and atzlus, you could be lazy and depressed, but when you see your mother, when you see your source, you jump. Goes to see straight up. The child is going and he's bothering another kid and gone, or he's playing in the mud bar, in the sandbox, and he's doing all these little childish things. It's kishmak to sit there and play and build and all that stuff. Again, sees his mother, obviously that he hasn't seen in a while, because when the kids are at home, they don't do this very often. But when he hasn't seen his mother for a while, he sees his mother, takes all of his taivas, all of his desires, and throws it over his shoulder, runs to his mother. Nimsa. Comes out that just from seeing the face of the tzaddik, we've healed ourselves from these two ideas. So what is it that, first of all, we're saying, how could it be that these two elements, which are so opposing to each other, two opposites, and the midos rois, as the Rebbe calls it, are so seemingly the opposite that they can be healed by the Pnei Tzaddik? So explain it with a mashal. We understand the mashal, but still, where is it drawing from? So the Torah, again, just my own Torah, is that a person that's filled with taiva, and we're not talking about a guy that's likes to have a hamburger sometimes. You're talking about someone, so to speak, an addict, a food addict, drug addict, all these things. Addicts, when they have unhealthy desires for things that they're destroying him. So this comes generally from trying to fill a hole, trying to fill a void. They feel, and as the Rabbi Wai speaks out all the time, they feel their soul even more than most people, and they can't handle just keep on going to davening and keep on tying your left shoe and then your right shoe and everything is going to be all right. Don't think about anything, just keep on going. They desire something more, they're searching for something more, and they haven't found it yet. And they seem to find it from the pleasures of whatever the pleasure is, fill in the blank, and they run after that and they get absorbed with it and keep going and going and going, trying to find it more and more, trying to fill that void, and it destroys them. But that's the taivas rois that they're speaking about. The same thing is the guy that's sitting all day and doesn't want to move and doesn't want to get off of his couch. That person is also, he just tried doing fun things. He tried reaching up to the places of his soul that would give him satisfaction, and he was destroyed and broken and shattered and traumatized. And his reaction to it wasn't, let me find another thing, let me find something else. His reaction was like, that's it, I'm done, I'm closed. I'm closing my emotions, I'm closing my excitement, I'm closing everything up to anything. Closing my energy levels. I'm going to be a low energy dude that does nothing on the couch all day. And he just sits and does nothing. That is coming from the same place. The same place is that they've tried to get to their soul, but they're not finding it. Either they just give up, or they keep finding it, but in the wrong places. The second they see their mother, the second they see their shorosh, the second they see the tzaddik, just the face of the tzaddik, they realize that these things are not the answer. There is an answer, right? They don't know it yet. They can't access it yet, right? But when they see the tzaddik and they see him living, and he's connected, and he's like absorbed with Hashem, and he's illuminated and alive, they say, drugs are not the answer, food is not the answer, women is not the answer, and sitting on the couch is not the answer. That's not going to help me. There's something there that is the answer. I see it. I've seen it. I might not even have tasted it. I don't know what it is, but it's there. I saw it, and that's it. They're done. They throw everything over their shoulder. A couple of minutes later, when they don't see the tzaddik, they can run right back to look for it in the garbage. But that's the idea, is that they get that from the tzaddik. I remember a couple of years back on Sukkot, I wasn't having a good Sukkot. I was getting the classic post-Uman depression on Sukkot, trying to figure everything out. And Chal Moed, I think it was Scheiner Rabbi, I decided that's it. I davened early. I was like, I'm going to go to the Rabbi Scheiner just to see if I could get some. So I got there, and he was in the middle of doing Nanuim at 3 in the afternoon or something, whatever it was. And he was just in his talis, and as he turned, he just like opened his eyes at me and just looked at me with like his shining countenance, and I was just like, it's like healed. I was like, okay, no more depression, no more. Like just seeing the face of the tzaddik does that. It's just like you see it. So this is the first level, and it gets rid of these two issues. The Rebbe ties it back into that story. The things that this person in the darkness that was going in the mashal of the darkness was afraid of kaitzim, which are thistles, which are thorns, which are shubechinas tzemeach, are vegetation, u'chasim are holes in the ground, shubechinas daimim, inanimate, just earth. Now, when there's a light that starts to come, zeh tam chacham, who's illuminated with the torch of the Torah, and that's the first layer. The second level is a charity that you give to the Talmid Chacham. Now again, two Yisraelis get fixed with this one thing of giving tzedakah to the tzaddik. Anyone who wants to do a fundraiser next time for their yeshiva or anything, you could go here, Torah Daled, Eis Ches, and give it over. So, what are the things? Chai medaber sheim bechinas chai ra velistim, which is chai is a chai ra, which is clearly an animal. Ra velistim are people, so that's how it's reflected in the story. Sheim dvar metelim vegava, which are just schmoozing about nothing. Vegaiva and haughtiness. The Torah saying and their outcomes. Offspring. Ki al yedei dvar metelim v'lashon hara bo anius. Why? Because speaking nothingness and speaking lashon hara, bad words, gossip, slander, it comes to bring a person to poverty. Kamashikasuv, ki mesu kol anashim zeu anius. Right? Dasim aviram, it says that they died. They didn't die. We know that they were around for many years later. But it says that they fell into poverty, and it was considered like they died. Gam gaiva amru. I guess that's in relation to the people that spoke lashon hara against Moshe. Gam gaiva amru siman lagasas ruach anius. The sign for haughtiness is poverty. So over here we see that dvar metelim and gaiva and all of these things of chai medaber of just schmoozing about nothing or schmoozing bad words or having gaiva. It all brings to this thing called poverty, which is a form of death. So he's saying, so how are you going to fix this? How are you going to fix this anios? We have to fix this. This is the distortion of these midas. And through charity, you get rich. Everyone knows how do you get rich? Through giving money, giving tzedakah. Now, it's interesting that the Rebbe is not going to use the classic example of how you prove this, right? There's a famous chazal that, give meiser that you're going to become. So you're going to become rich if you give meiser. Skips over that Gemara, goes to a totally random Gemara, which obviously reflects something deeper. Now again, so it's a Gemara that's bringing down psukim. Where are they in Nachum? And the basic idea is that you have a sheep that wants to go across, I think, a river, so it gets very heavy because its wool is so rich, so thick wool, so it can't go through. So what do? You shear it, get rid of the wool, and then it goes straight through. So when you have so much money, you can't get through life. Shear a little bit off, give a little bit to tzedakah, and you get through it. It takes care of the anias. So over here, very interesting that he's using this idea also, and I think again it reflects something that's going on with these things of dvar betelim, lashon hara. First of all, dvar betelim and lashon hara and gaiva all come from seemingly a place of the person feeling that, well, Taivas, I'm not going into the Taivas. I'm not an addict. I'm not a meshugana, and he's not going into the first thing of dead. I'm not a dead guy, a guy that sits on the couch all day. I'm not addicted to my phone. I'm not one of these lowlights. I'm an upright citizen. I do things. I go. I'm a gvaldige guy, right? But deep inside, what's inside is that he's dead, because he's not finding the source, right? The guy that sometimes, I was listening to a podcast, he's saying that sometimes you need that desperation that drug addicts get, that they get to the rock bottom, and then they find and they reveal lights that people can't reveal in 100 lifetimes. Why? Because they've reached that place. So this person is a person that reaches all these places, but he doesn't reach desperation, so he carries on, and somehow he's able to weave into his inner world that he's great. And what is the whole narrative? Is that he is king. Right? Even though he's humble and he's self-effacing and he says he's no one and he's nothing and he's just another guy in Shul, but inside the whole world view is just, how am I better than that guy? How is that guy worse than me? How am I greater than this person? It's all a big gaiva trip. Everything is just a big world of, I'm in control. I'm good. I got it under control. I'm ana emlech, like Rabbi Nachman says later on in different Torahs. I'm the king. But it comes from that same place that you have a soul that wants something, but you're not feeding it, you're not connecting, you're not in contact with it. So that's coming from those. And then if you look into Dvarim Batelim, so Dvarim Batelim, when guys sit around and schmooze about nothing, like they say, Eretz Yisrael is an amazing country, has 6 million prime ministers. Every single person, these countries have a president. Hashem Yirachem, one president, we have 6 million presidents. Every guy sits and schmoozes over his sheshbes and gayanim, and he says, Ma, this is what he should have done. Shtuyat, So Dvarim Batelim, they're schmoozing about nothing. Why is it Batelim? Because the guy in the taxi, Lamaisa, at the end of the day, does nothing. He's not becoming the prime minister, and he's not convincing the world to vote for Netanyahu or against him. So what is he doing? Dvarim Batelim. But in his world, he's not Batelim. He has a view. Every conversation shmooze about nothing is my shmooze about what I believe. It's nothing. Okay, that's besides the point. But it's me. And Gaiva and Lashon Hara, Kal V'chomer, that guy, didn't know what he did. Obviously, Lashon Hara is like the easiest one. Like, it's the best way to make yourself a little bigger. That guy's a little down on here. Oh, wow, am I great. So all these things, Gaiva, the Dvarim Batelim, and Lashon Hara, they're all sort of spinning around this person that's trying to fill himself with something. But that thing now is Gaiva. And this Gaiva is in a certain way, worse than those other two. Because Gaiva gets everywhere. Taiva, the guy runs, he does this thing, he's going crazy for money. Okay, it absorbs him and everything. But he's able to still have some sort of, but Gaiva, it infects quietly everything you do. Every single interaction and thought is just me. So that's what the danger is. So he says that leads to anius. And the anius is, it's brought down in many svarim, that ani is called evyain, from ta'ev. Ta'ev means to be needy. And a poor person, Nebuch, is needy. He needs some money to get bread. He needs some money to get water. He needs some money for shelter. He's always sitting there needing things. So this human being, who is the head of the Vad of his town and runs 3 yeshivas and making millions of dollars a year, is the neediest person in the entire town. Because of his gaiva, he needs to feel bigger and greater and better all day long. So it's anius, it's nebuch, it's a form of death, the Rebbe says here. It's a mamish, a death sentence. So this person, nebuch, is filled with all these needy things. So now, the Rebbe says, what's his tikkun? Give money to the tzaddik. No, he's saying tzedakah. Tzedakah, money it's me, right? Damim tarte mashmet. Damim means blood, it means you, it means your money. So your money we're very attached to our money. We made it, we worked, I gave my life for this. This is my sweat, blood, and tears. So it's very hard to give. So he says, I think that's why he didn't use the pasuk from Meiser, right? Because I've seen it from a Sfas Emes. Sfas Emes says that there's brought down in a pasuk, I don't remember psukim very well, that you should give tzedakah with all your heart. He says that's the godless of Hashem making Meiser into halacha. You made $100. You know that right away, as you're getting it from the ATM machine, you take that $10 and you fold it up and you put it into your Meiser pocket. It's not yours. Then when you come to Scheiner's and there's collectors coming, it's not a big deal. I got that $10 right now. I'll take it out. Got change of a 10? Okay, great. And then the next 10 guys, you're like, Lubavitcher Rebbe. You're giving out singles. You're like happy. You're like selling out singles. Why? Because it's not mine. The other 90, that's hard. Once you hit that 10, and they come for that other, you're like, I'm sorry, I'm all out. I gave my Meiser, I'm done. I did my halacha. I did it with a full heart. But that's where the hard part is, to give of yourself. And that's what the Rebbe is saying over here, is that's the part that's me. I am the king of the world. My money is mine. And now when you're able to say and take that, and you say, I'm giving up of that, I'm saying, and what is the truest poverty? That this person, the poverty that he has is that with his worldview, he has everything in the world that he needs. He doesn't need anyone. I'm the king of the universe, and therefore I need no one. So I'm up there and I need no one. Now when he breaks that and he says, I'm not the only human being in the world, there's a whole world around me. Look at these people. They need money. And it doesn't just mean money like we said in the other shiurim, it means to give a person a smile. It means to give a person a couple of seconds of your time to listen to them. Right? Two of my kids were saying over a story. I must have said over this story 10 times in the last 10 years. And my kid obviously forgot that I had told him the story, so he was saying over the story. And my other kid was like, oh yeah, we know this story. And I was like, he was like getting all upset. What are you talking? He's like, stop, you're ruining my story. I'm trying to say over the story. I was like, no, I want to hear the story. Please, I really want to hear the story. And just giving him the space to like express and say over a story that I know and I've actually said over 10 times, but it helps him. He feels good and he feels like he's giving over something he knows, and it's beautiful. So all of these things are tzedakah, where you take from yourself and you say there are others, and that by doing that you're breaking those gaiva and gasas ruach, all those things, and that's what he says. V'zeu came inshallah amar hashachar nitza mecha rab listim amar hashachar is tzedakah. The dawn is tzedakah. K'mashikasav ki sira oraim v'chisisai v'chulo azi bakach kashachar recha. When you give back the things to the poor person, and it illuminates like the light of the sun. Let's just try to finish up the last chapter, the last paragraph of this. Now that you've seen the face of the tzaddik, you're not lazy, you're not full of desire, and now that you've given tzedakah to the tzaddik, and you're not filled with yourself, so now you can start speaking to him. In the Mashal it said that now they get to the crossroads. What does this mean? It's Talmud Chacham and the day of death. Now, without getting to the Pasuk Pshat, the Rebbe for this Torah is saying that this is Vidu Dvarim and Talmud Chacham. Yoeli Misa Remezal Vidoy. Yoeli Misa is obviously Vidoy. A person before they die is meant to say over what they did wrong. Do Vidoy. Zenika Precious Drachim. Key. What does it mean, Parshas Drachim, the crossroads? He is explaining to him a pathway to Fisharis and Shmasei. Every person has his specific pathways to return to Hashem, and the tzaddik helps him do that. As like Nita Mikulam, you're fixed from everything. He was there, he saw him, and he gave him Mammon. Very good. I don't want Taivas anymore. And I'm not lazy. And now I'm not filled with myself. There's a whole world around me. But what do I do? Where do I go? What do I do, tzaddik? Now he says, okay, there's many pathways. Some of them lead to good, some of them lead to death. Because now that he comes to this place of vidoy, now he comes to the place of understanding and knowing where to go. And like we said in the other shiurim, that if you want to take it on a very practical level, that the vidoy of the tzaddik is basically your body and all of your lower parts of your being, which are very real and part of you, speaking, so to speak, to the pure chilek al-kamimal of your own self, and just speaking out what you're feeling and what you're going through. So now it's beautiful. The same thing over here. You have to see your soul, see the part, the place of your soul. Come in contact with that place that's mamish soul. And the litmus test would be, if you see that all of a sudden, when you touch that place, you don't even feel like you want the desires anymore, right? Some days you wake up and you're so inspired that you have no desire to look at any social media, anything. You're like, what do I need this garbage? What do I need to look at the news? And when you, that's a litmus test that you found the part inside of you that's alive, that's real, that's your neshama. And when you see that, and then when you give to it, you recognize that it's an active partner with you. So then all of a sudden you also realize that you're part of an integrated being of a body and a soul. And now that you come to that level, now you're ready to speak. Now you're ready to say the body to the soul inside of yourself and speak out and say, this is what I'm going through, this is what's happening, in a very simplistic way. I think often it says, V'yatzenu, could end on this, V'yatzenu k'vat chila. We say in Hashivenu Avinu, Shiva Shaftenu k'vat chila, V'yatzenu k'vat chila. What does it mean, V'yatzenu k'vat chila? Our advisors, like we had in the beginning, Kivat Chila is Chaf Beis Chila. Chaf Beis is the 22 letters of the Aleph Beis, and Kivat Chila is Chaf Beis Chila, which means start the Aleph Beis again. The greatest advice of all is that whatever you're doing, start from the Aleph Beis. Just start Aleph Beis Gimel. Famous Zusha song, Aleph Beis Gimel. Just start from the Aleph Beis. You're starting to speak about what? I don't know. Let's start from the Aleph Beis. What's going on? How do I feel? What's feeling not so good to me? What feels great today? What happened today that I feel great about? Speak it out. Just say it out. And by doing this, you have this beautiful through connection with your body and your soul. And this obviously it's Pshuta Yosa with meeting the tzaddik and seeing the tzaddik. Through this, Be'ezus Hashem, it lifts up, as we're going to see in the Hemshech of the Torah, it lifts up all the malchus and everything back to the source to be able to see that there are no places within your body and with all the struggles that you're going through that's bad. It's actually all part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's unified, integrated unity and punkt fakar, from seeing the different parts all coming together now, you're able to see the malchus of Hashem in the greatest levels. Shkoya, chazak, uvaru.